walking down the street, you know. Yeah, so that is just an interesting component of that. But I met Sakhar Tarkar, who I would run into years later on that trip. I met Guru Goon, who by that time it became known. Anybody that was curious enough, like I was fairly aware on that trip that she had donated the money for Ramdas Puri.
And my understanding was that her inheritance money.
Yeah, and she, according to her, it was an unexpected inheritance from an uncle. She didn't grow up thinking she was going to have money. And I'll just put a flag here right now. So Larry was the leader of that trip. He was the head of the ashram in DC. He left a couple years later. Like I got to know him a little bit, but he's a fairly aloof guy. Ramdas Kaur kind of disappeared, and she's very engaging. So Larry was pretty much the de facto leader of that trip. A couple years later, I befriended Larry, and he said there were many reasons that he left 3HO, but one of them was Yogi Bhajan's treatment of Guru Guru. He said, I'm not saying that like that's why I left. He said he said Yogi Bhajan was very transparent as to how he was grooming Larry for a business role, and he was so open about how poorly he treated people, and Larry was not comfortable with that. And he said specifically the way he treated Guru Goon and getting the money from her, it didn't sit well with him, you know. So I'm just putting that there, and Guru Goon, she still had money and she was still a part of the group, and she was sweet, and I loved hanging out with her, and I loved hanging out with Sakhar Tar and my friend Kartar Singh, who left, Sakhar Singh. It was a great trip.
I also want to pause real quick and just say, for listeners that don't know who Guru Goon Kaur, she's the one who donated the money, or that gave the money, or Yogi Bhajan took the money, however we describe it. And just so you know, I'm doing the best I can to bring her on. And if I can't get her on to share her story because she's remote right now, I'm going to at least read the story that she posted, so that we can get that story out. Since Ramdas Puri is asset land and it came from an individual, it didn't come from collective earned money.
Or nor first from some Hopi prophecy. Like, can we just put that story to rest?
Yeah, can we put the Hopi story to rest and just say, nope, the money was
bought. Yeah. And Guru Goon goes by Gigi now. So
Gigi, correct. Thank you for that. Gigi's story, and it was heart-wrenching. And G. Yeah. It was heart-wrenching to read her story. I didn't know that about Ramdas Puri. I used to tell the stories of the enchanted giving of the land, because this is the stories that were perpetuated. But when you read and hear her story, you realize, wow, that was quite a myth. And this land makes a lot of money for the organizations, and she's living in a trailer. So,